So today we're going to talk about a course that I've played already once, but it has two courses on it. I just played it this past week. It was actually a surprise. This is Bear Creek again in Grand Prairie, Texas. Actually, I guess closer to DFW. It's just off the DFW runways. In the central part of Grand Prairie, more towards the west side of the Bush Highway in the DFW area, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's about halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth, and about halfway between the north and south part of Dallas and Fort Worth. So the thing is, played this course, it was just a matter of convenience. I'd actually gone over to try to take a look at the Four Seasons course, which I'd heard so much about, and went over there, found out that's all in an enclave. It's in this members only course, and all this stuff is, literally, walled off gated community in the center of Grand Prairie. So no, I wasn't gonna just drive up and play it, but it was a nice trip over to see where it was, and it was so not nearly as impressive as I thought it would be. It was more like, just a little club in the middle of this gated community. It was literally walled off community, just off the Bush Highway, and not in some isolated area. It was just off the highway, literally. So went back and said, okay, fine, I'll go play Bear Creek again, play the other course, which is like a 5-minute drive away from Four Seasons to the west on the other side of both the Bush Highway and the DFW access road. So it's south of the airport by about a mile or two. You actually drive through the parking facility, the remote parking facility, to get from Four Seasons to Bear Creek. So I went over there and played the west course. The last time I played there, the first time I played there, I played the east course, and I hadn't played the west course, and it's slightly shorter, slightly lower rated on Golfnow as far as the slope and the distance than the east course. And I said, well, okay, it's like a 120 course in the back tees, and I was prepared to be underwhelmed, but I wanted to play. The weather was good, the timing was right, and I was just wanted to go out and hit some balls. So I said, all right, fine, we'll just go play this course and be done with it. And I was surprised. It was actually a quite nice course for a public course. It had a few holes, sure, which weren't, super impressive, but most of it was actually pretty decent. And the course was in pretty good condition. Nice grass, nice mossy rough around the greens, and good fairway grass, good, really good conditions for the greens. They were a little bit long, so it was a little bit like putting on AstroTurf, but at least they were well grassed and they were reasonable speed. Just the breaks were a little bit funny because the ball really didn't want to break left or right unless it was really steeply sloped. It certainly was not like a short green where you have the slightest of break and it breaks like 5 feet off to the side. So there was a little getting used to that. You start having to jam putts in, and the ball would only roll about a foot or two past. It was easy enough to make the putt coming back. So it was an adjustment there. But basically a good course to play. It was a good challenging layout. It wasn't really tight. It wasn't really open. It wasn't really long. There was a lot of water. There was a fair amount of verticality. There were a lot of waste areas, that were blind from the fairway. If you didn't know where they were, you didn't look at the course map closely, you could easily hit into waste, just because the course, the fairway would suddenly go to the left or whatever, and you couldn't tell that from the course. You kind of really had to have the course map with you, even when you're in the fairway, and know where to hit. And I didn't hit some good shots in some points where I hit into the waist just because I was trying to hit, a long shot over this hill or a long shot, and stuff, and parked it right up in the waist. So it was a good challenge. And the thing about it was the course is not so long that you really have to play a lot of blind shots. Usually you can hit out in the fairway and play, and then take your second shot to the green or your third shot on the par 5 and reach it pretty easily. And it certainly was not long to the point where it was a a problem to play the length, but it wasn't short to the point where it was no challenge. It had a lot of par threes that were a good challenge, somewhere from 150 to 175 to 85 yards from the back tees. Good lies, good lines, and I think there was only really one tee shot, like the 16th, that was really a challenge from the back tees because it was like kind of a 5-degree slope uphill, and the top of the hill was way, out there. It was a good 300 yards out, which I somehow drove it. It was at least 250. I somehow drove the top of the hill, got the ball over the top, and of course, duffed my approach shot going into the green, not believing the distance measurements, and it was pretty much what they said it was. It's just I didn't believe it, and it getting dark and my distance was a little off. But
I just lost the ball on that shot right there. I was on the short side of the hill. I hit like a bad tee shot and just barely made the fairway. Then I hit a 3-iron up, and I was only 225 downhill below the green, and I parked it right in the center of that waist. I couldn't really see the waist, but I could see the tree, the top of the tree, and I know it went up in the top of the tree. So the lesson learned on this course, it's definitely too tight to hit blindly and hope for the best. It's really a tight course in its own way. Well, here we are playing from the opposing fairway, so obviously a little bit too easy of a course. All right, I'm already line 4 here. Technically it took me 3 strokes to get back on my fairway. It's just not good. So let me see, I guess we'll have to split this and take the safe shot in. This is a nice 190 par 3 downhill, pretty tight on the left side. Well, there you can see the green is there, the pin's behind that tree there on the left, and there's a deep bunker in the front right corner, and I put it in the bunker, and first one I hit it about 6 inches short of the lip, and the second one back in that creek where the cemetery is. So here we are off to the side, and there's somebody in front of us and somebody coming up behind. So there's a creek about 200 out in front of that green, 50 yards in front of that green. There's a big creek and a lake there. All right, so we're right next to, I don't know, is this 184 or probably the toll road for the DFW. This is what, 13? Easily 13 on the back.
A lot of good shots, a lot of good par 3s, a lot of good par 4s. It was actually a very good course. I certainly have to give this course at least a B, although there were some holes around, say, 12 and 13 that ran right next to the DFW access highway, and that was a little overbearing. And there also were a lot of planes taken off not too far off the course, which was a pain. Every time you look up, there's a 360 or 340 or 380, whatever, coming over the trees, and it's okay, once or twice, but when it's constantly happening because it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and the commuter flights are coming out, that sort of got to be a pain in the ass. But it is a nice clubhouse, a really nice staff, good location. It was $35 with a cart at 6 o'clock tee time, and I played with a group of 4 guys, 3 guys that I was playing with, and we easily would have finished the course before dark at like 9, but we were goofing around a little bit, and we ended up playing the last 2 holes in dusk. Certainly the 17th was okay, but the 18th we were coming up the fairway in dusk. It was really just too dark to finish the hole. But it was a good round. So I'm gonna give it a B. That's Bear Creek, about a 6,800 yard course and 120 slope from the back tees in DFW parking lot, basically, in Grand Prairie, Dallas, Texas.